This is part 2 of section 9.4. Want to solve this. There is a room that measures 11 feet by 18 feet. You wish to place a rectangular rug with an area of 98 square feet so that there is an even, uncovered strip of flooring all the way around. How wide should this strip be? So I have basically this shape. I've drawn this very exaggerated so I have room to write around on the inside and have it be legible. This is most definitely not to scale, okay? So let's figure out what we have here. The area of the rug, I have this as my rug, is 98 feet squared, okay? And remember, area of a rectangle is length times width, okay? Now, if this is my room, it is 11 feet by 18 feet. So I can find the area of the room easily. I'm given those two sides. What we're asked to find is that we want the strip of this uncovered part to be the same all the way around. So what we want is for this distance between here and here to be x, the distance between here and here to be x, and then the same here and here. Now, I told you this is obviously not drawn to scale, okay? But I'm hoping that distance is x all the way around. Now, my main thing is I know the area of this, and I'm trying to find this. Well, if I can find a way of talking about this distance and find a way of talking about this distance, I can set that and find the area here, okay? Well, this is 18 feet. The difference between 18 feet and here is if I subtract x and then I subtract another x. That's going to be this distance because from here to here is x, here to here is x. So this distance right here is 18 minus x, which is 2x. I don't know what x is, but I'm going to subtract it off twice to find out that distance. Okay? And then right here, you do basically the same thing. It's 11 feet here. We lose x here. We lose x here. So overall, we have 11 minus 2x. So the area of this rug is 18 minus 2x times 11 minus 2x, length times width, and that has to equal 98. Square feet, that's just your units. You don't do anything with that square there. Okay? So now this is what I need to get solved. I am going to have to multiply this out. If this were a 0 here, it would be easy. We'd have it done, but we don't. So let's start distributing. 18 times 11 will be 198. 18 times negative 2 is going to be negative 36x. Negative 2x times 11 is negative 22x. Negative 2x times negative 2x is going to be positive 4x squared is equal to 98. Okay. Now I'm going to combine these two and then rearrange the left-hand side so that my square is in the front. That gives me 4x squared minus 58x. Is that right? Yeah, and then I have plus 198 is equal to 98. Now I'm going to need a 0. So I'm going to subtract 98 from both sides, and I have 4x squared minus 58x plus 100 is equal to 0. Okay, and I see again that this is positive, which is good. Everything here is even, so I can make my number smaller, and I'm going to do that by dividing everything by at least a 2. I'm hoping, of course, that I can divide by a 4, but if you try dividing 58 by 4, it's not perfect. So let's divide everything by 2 to make our numbers smaller and that much easier. And we get 2x squared. 58 divided by 2 is 29. Plus 50 is equal to 0. Okay? I could try to see if this is going to factor. But, I'd be looking for two numbers that multiply to 100 and that add to a negative 29. 25 and 4. Negative 25 and negative 4. Yeah, that multiplies to 100 and it adds to negative 29, right? So let's use that. This will factor 2x squared minus 25x. I want my number here to be a plus so I can use factoring by grouping. So I'm going to put plus negative 4x. The double is okay there. Plus 50 is equal to 0. So group. Here I can factor out an x, leaving 2x minus 25. And then plus, here to make it match this, I'm going to factor out a negative 2, which gives me 2x minus 25 is equal to 0. So this factors as 2x minus 25 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now set each of these equal to 0. Here I'm going to add 25 to both sides. That's 2x is equal to 25. And then if you divide both sides by a 2, you get 25 over 2, which is 12.5. I don't normally go to decimals, but since we're going to have to check to make sure this makes sense in the real world, I'm going to put it as a decimal. And then here, you just add 2 to both sides, and we get a 2. Okay, so my two potential answers are 12.5 or 2. So let's come back up here and look at it in the real world. Now, just think about this being x. All these are supposed to be the distance between the rug and the wall. Well, these are positive numbers, so they make sense in that respect. Okay, can I have a 2-foot gap here? Yeah, that makes sense because, my smaller number is 11. If I subtract 2 and I subtract 2 again, that makes sense. That's 7. That makes sense. But if I do 12.5, if I have a 12.5-foot gap here and a 12.5-foot gap here without even plugging anything in, that's wider. Each gap is wider than the room. Okay, so in this case, it's not the fact that there's a negative answer that throws things off. This number is just too big to make sense in this world. So I throw that away. And so the answer we're looking for is 2 feet. That gap should be 2 feet wide. Okay, so let's try this one. We worked a problem like this in the past as well. If a ball is projected upward with an initial velocity of 96 feet per second from a height h of 112 feet, then its height t seconds after it is propelled is defined by the equation h is equal to negative 16t squared plus 96t plus 112. How many seconds after it is projected will it hit the ground? Okay, all of this up here is just to tell you what your variables are standing for here. Your h is the height of the ball from the ground. T is the number of seconds it has been after it has been thrown. We're wanting to know after how many seconds will it hit the ground. Well, if it hits the ground and h is the height off the ground, then what we're looking for is when h equals 0. Okay, so we want to know what t is when our height is 0. They give us the entire equation that we need. So all we had to do was to figure out that we wanted h to be 0 to set up our equation. Negative 16t squared plus 96t plus 112 is equal to 0. Okay, so this is what I need to get solved. my first number is a negative, so I know I want to at least multiply everything by -1. But again, everything here is an even number, so I can make it that much smaller. You know, I would hope, you know, it would be easiest if everything is divisible by 16. So it's worth a chance. Let's check it. 96 divided by 16. Well, that's 6. Okay, so that's good. 112 divided by 16 is 7. So I can make this a whole lot easier. If I divide everything here by -16, now this is not an absolutely necessary step. It's just going to make your life a whole lot easier. This would be t squared and -6t minus 7 is equal to 0. Now this is easily factored. Two numbers that multiply to a -7 and add to a -6, that's going to be -7 and +1. So this factors as t minus 7, t plus 1 equal to 0. And then set t minus 7 equal to 0 and t plus 1 equal to 0. Solve each of these for t. Here I'm adding t to both sides. Here I'm subtracting 1. I get t equals 7 and t equals -1. Okay, so let's come back to the problem and see which of these, if any, make sense. Basically what we've got here is we have some sort of projectile being thrown up and it's going on this basic arc, and we're wanting to know how many seconds before it hit the ground. Okay, and this is at 0 seconds. Okay, after how many seconds? -1 seconds? That doesn't make sense. Okay, 7 seconds makes sense in the real world. So I throw away this answer, and the answer is 7 seconds. Now, one thing I do want to point out, because it will help in the next section. See this basic shape? If you can imagine continuing it this way, right here would be -1. If you think of this as our x-axis and then having this as a graph, this -1 is where it would cross the x-axis on the other side. That's just a connection for the next section.